Hi, I'm Amanda.
And I'm King Yu, and welcome back to Truffle Thoughts.
So 2023 is almost coming to an end, and I'm sure a lot of us are thinking like, how the heck is the year already almost over?
Yeah, and with the year end, you'll get many of us reflecting on what has happened in the last 12 months.
And aside from that, we may be thinking about our New Year's resolutions for the next year and thinking like, oh, maybe next year I want to take better care of myself.
Or 2024 could be like the year I glow up.
It's all about self-improvement in the new year, which no harm done, right?
I think one of the most popular New Year's resolution on social media is glowing up. Glow ups are like one of my favorite sites of TikTok. I love seeing transformation videos of how people find their style, their makeup style over time. And if I were to compare 2000's makeup tutorial to today's makeup tutorial, right now it's more centered to finding the best makeup style to accentuate and complement your facial features and bone structure. Channels like Dear Peachy specializes in this. For instance, this video here where she teaches you how to find your signature makeup style based on the shape of your face, eyebrows, mouth, etc. And I really love her videos because she doesn't enforce you to fit within a beauty standard, but rather teaches you how to enhance your features. And the transformation videos, it's so subtle to be honest, but I feel like it really makes a huge difference when you compare the before and after. There's also a TikTok subreddit that merges science with beauty. The most prominent creator for this is Dr. Charles, where he teaches optimal contour, blush placements based on principles of aesthetic beauty. Other creators like Hailey Kim and Yuhan are doing the same. And it's just so refreshing to see all these creators doing all the research for us and then teaching us by showing makeup tutorials on how to do certain makeup techniques to fit different types of facial feature. Aesthetics aside, another New Year's resolution that I've hoped to incorporate is like sorting out my finances. With my short attention span, I'm glad to see creators like Girls That Invest, The Work Salaryman, Su Yin, who makes investing more approachable and less daunting for people who are just starting out. And I really appreciate these creators because when we usually talk about glowing up, it's always about glowing up through makeup, style, skincare, workouts, which are important to make us feel beautiful and confident. But I think let's also start hyping up all this, I would say, boring things like savings, investments, trying to find another source of income, and let's try to like incorporate those into our daily routine because these are important to let us enjoy the glamorous side of self-care, which I need to remind myself constantly because this boring things is always part of my New Year's resolution every year. But yeah.
If you're like us and you have no idea where to start, there are a ton of videos and articles online. Like for example, I found this article by Good Housekeeping where they literally listed 65 different New Year's resolutions that you could have. Or if you do a quick search on TikTok or YouTube, you can find a ton of creators talking about their New Year's resolutions and industry experts even talking about how to get your finances in a row. There's also a lot of information online on how to make our resolutions more goal-oriented and not just meaningless words that we put out into the universe. I think many of us struggle, but don't worry, because you aren't alone. Forbes Health conducted a research and found that the most common New Year's resolutions for 2023 were related to mental health, fitness, weight, diet, and finances. And I bet that most of us have had at least one of these as our New Year's resolutions. I'm personally kind of 50-50 when it comes to New Year's resolutions because to me it's like, let's say it's April right now. Are you gonna wait 8 months until the new year before you actually start trying to like change your life? Okay, but that's just the skeptical side of me because I think it's kind of good, like a forced reminder that we need to check in on ourselves. And as working adults or like corporate slaves, it's very common for us towards the year end.
I'm tired of this, Grandpa!
That's too damn bad!
Where we actually have performance reviews where we need to like reflect on how we've been performing at work the past year. So it's a good thing that we're doing that, like taking inventory of our own life as well. And like a lot of people, including myself, will be taking breaks towards the year end to spend time with our loved ones. So it's a really good opportunity to look inward and reflect on ourselves. I really enjoy watching these like aesthetic house cleaning or organization videos. The kind where they show how they organize their groceries with like different transparent containers and with their like tool labelers or something.
Yeah.
Or like those kind of videos where they use like a lot of cleaning agents and different cleaning tools to like clean their house. Or I for some reason really like watching people make ice. Yeah, it's just like the ASMR of like shh, and then it's like it's sound effect. I would say that like 65% of my content that I watch on TikTok is those like aesthetic day in my life organization
You should
videos.
like calculate 65 or something.
I guess I kind of did, like I didn't calculate or like collect any data or anything, but I would say if it was like 65% day in my life, then it's like 20% like movie clips, and then like maybe 10% beauty tutorials, and 5% like just random comedy or something. That 65% of videos that I watch, they are all aspirational content. In this day and age where there's the rise of content creators, we are constantly bombarded with a ton of like aesthetic photos and aesthetic videos because it's very easy for any of us to just post online. We talked about this in one of our earlier episodes, the cost of main character energy, where we see that the rise of short form content is actually allowing us as consumers to not have to rely too much on mega influencers or celebrities for reviews. Of course, watching all these like aesthetic videos for the vibes or for like New Year's inspo is actually really great. But I think it's very easy for us to get sucked into this wormhole of self-loading after you turn off your phone. Like, let's talk about us regular 9 to 6 corporate slaves for a moment. Like, I'm gonna preface this by saying that I'm very grateful to have a full-time job. I'm sure you're also very grateful to have a full-time job and a regular stream of income. But we don't have the time to like be like aesthetically cleaning our houses or like making pretty eyes, and not even accounting for those like simple things like working out or 10-step skincare routine, all these kind of things that we see online that I enjoy watching, but they are just highly unattainable and not really realistic.
Yeah, and we gotta admit, indulging in self-care would signify that you possess certain privileges. And yes, I understand that self-care isn't just confined to getting facials, going to the gym, eating healthy, but in the context of this video, we are referring to the mainstream definition of self-care that we see on IG and TikTok. But back to our point, yes, it will signal that you have certain privileges, because if you come from a lower income group, you wouldn't be able to afford going into facials and eating healthy food, because healthy organic food is usually or always more expensive.
Alrighty, 1/4 pound of quinoa and 2 cartons of cashew milk. That will be $130. Fantastic!
Or if you're a working parent, you may not even have the luxury of getting good quality sleep, or even like getting some self-time, because most of your focus would be on the child or on work or managing all your other relationships.
I am a mom, and I could be late doing mom things.
Even having a strong supportive family that can, for example, afford medical treatments and therapy is a privilege. Having easy accessibility into self-care is all very rooted in privilege. Marginalized communities are the ones who need self-care the most, because they are living in a world that is constantly against them. But instead of trying to alleviate their problems, they are instead being bombarded with messages that implies, what's your excuse of not taking care of yourself? Or like the most aggravating one, you have the same 24 hours as Bill Gates, but why aren't you more successful as him? Well, because not all of us have jobs that give us full autonomy of our schedule, or have like rich parents to fund our business, or have multiple nannies to help us with the most minuscule task. The marketing of self-care has made it seem like an individual problem and only exclusively reserved for a selected few, when it should be institutions to make it more accessible and inclusive for these marginalized communities. And I have to be honest, I'm definitely privileged enough to afford treatments like facials, have a 7-step skincare routine, so I'm not condemning self-care. Okay, a slight detour, but I always feel like on our channel we always have to include disclaimers, because we talk a lot about social media trends which we sometimes participate in. I think it's also fair to look at the criticism and form thoughts about it. But that doesn't mean like we condemn every little happy thing like self-care, because we both definitely engage and enjoy self-care. I guess that's why it really irks people when we see celebrities flaunting their lavish lifestyle when the whole world is going through a crisis. Like, yeah, sure, flaunt all you want because you got it, but like, time and place, babes, time and place. For example, during the pandemic,
we always talk about like 3 things in our podcast: the pandemic, capitalism, and Twilight.
It's like a drug to me.
when the whole world had to go into lockdown, I recall seeing a few celebrities posting videos about lockdown being a great time for them to like self-reflect, rewind. Posting it on any other days is valid, sure, but not when most people are out of jobs, because not everyone is lucky enough to work remotely. And I love Kim K. She's an icon, she's a legend. We both even had like Kim K and Court K as our corporate profile pics one time.
Yeah, people used to call me Kim and call you Court.
Court.
Yeah.
Yeah. But when she posted about flying her friends on the private jet to celebrate her birthday so that they can like have a getaway and pretend that things are normal. Kim, the whole world is suffering, but here she is flaunting her very extravagant birthday celebration just so she and her friends can feel normal. Because for her, not being able to travel on a private jet whenever she wants is not normal. While for the majority, people's definition of normal is not being afraid of being unemployed at any time or constantly have the fear that you or your loved ones may contract the virus because you're considered to be vulnerable groups and you may not be able to afford the healthcare that is needed to treat it. I mean, yeah, she has the money, so girl, go spend it, but she could have at least be a bit more sensitive and aware of what was happening at that time and not post about it, because most of us can't just escape to a private island just to feel normal. We actually have to like deal with it. And how can we forget Gal Gadot's heartwarming rendition of Imagine with all her other celeb friends.
Imagine there's no heaven.
Telling us to imagine a world where there's no possessions while they are all living in huge mansions with lots of possessions. I think they all thought it was done with good intentions, but it just screams performative because they did it just to make themselves feel good, like they did something to heal the world by saying we all are coming together to go through this together when we definitely aren't going through it together because we're all definitely on different boats. I think the reason why celebrities always seem so out of touch is because they do not know the reality of most regular people like us live in. And their knowledge and lifestyle is confined by their social circle who live the same luxurious lifestyle as them. So, flying on a private jet to go into their holiday home or running errands to buy expensive branded jewelry is actually like they are normal. To them, it's just their daily routine. So when they're showing us a peek into their lifestyle, like how regular people like us do by sharing IG stories, they do not know that they are actually sharing excessive amount of wealth and are actually very out of touch. And same goes to middle class like us. I'm sure that if lower income groups were to view our IG stories, they would view our lifestyles as very luxurious. I know I'm at the risk of sounding very petty because not gonna lie, I wish I was a Nepo baby. But I think that's why it's important to acknowledge your privilege. Understand how it provides you with advantages and opportunities. And learn how to read the room and have empathy, especially flaunting that lifestyle during devastating times. Because we're not blaming you for being rich. We just want the rich to take accountability and touch some grass sometimes, occasionally.
I mean, we've established that average people like us don't have private jets, we don't have mansions, so our form of self-care is buying stuff. It's very easy for us to feel FOMO because we're seeing people post online about oh, I'm going to this concert, oh, I bought this new face mask or whatever. A lot of the messaging we see online has to do with buying self-care products, like buying a ton of scented candles depending on your mood, or having 10 different flavors of teas to help you sleep or help you wake up or whatever. And it's very easy for us to justify these expensive or maybe even exorbitant purchases because if it makes us happy, then it's worth it, right? I'm not trying to be holier than thou or anything. Obviously, I'm guilty of splurging on nail polish or skincare products. My point is that we all have a part to play in this cycle of capitalism. Because think about it this way, we both study economics. You are an economics major, right? I studied economics. I was not an economics major, but basically we know that demand is an incentive for supply. So because the self-care movement is becoming more popularized, then more brands are starting to play into this self-care or treat yourself marketing. Aside from the slogans like treat yourself, maybe brands will describe the products they sell as relaxing or refreshing because they want to invoke this mindset into you that using these products equals to treating yourself or making you happy. You're more inclined to buy the products because brands are telling you so, right? But the dangerous side of this is that you end up maybe buying things that you don't actually need, and it's all for the sake of treating yourself because all these brands or these influencers told you that you need to buy this stuff.
Yeah, and watching videos telling me what to buy sometimes highlights insecurities that I never knew I had to be insecure about in the first place. I did not know having obvious collarbone was so coveted, and having thick calves was something some people were insecure for, because I have thick calves and I went down a rabbit hole of how to reduce my thick calves. So I actually bought a foam roller to help reduce them, and I've never used it after using it twice.
So what happened to the foam roller?
It's just like collecting dust somewhere, not used it at all ever since. With brands constantly telling us what products to apply, what fillers to get to prevent wrinkles, surgery, to get bigger hips, you know, anything or everything under the sky, it creates a perpetual cycle of constantly consuming to fix our insecurities. But then needing to maintain that purchase or a follow-up appointment, else our insecurities will come back. While also at the same time noticing new things to be insecure about. I know we've said it like many times before, but I guess that's why it's so important to be intentional with what you want to consume. And personally, I try to segregate my thoughts whenever I want to buy something by creating a distinction between big purchases and small purchases. So like for small purchases, for example, an eyeshadow palette, I'll try to justify by telling myself like, oh, I already have 2 palettes at home, and if I were to buy this third one, I know I'll only use like 3 colours from the palette and I won't ever touch the rest. Versus if I were to buy like a hydrating serum, which I do have a few hydrating serums in my closet. I already have extra, but sometimes I'll also buy it, but I'll justify it by saying like, even though if I don't like it or it's not react well on my skin, I can always use it on my back or on my hands.
Gotta break even, you know?
Yeah, gotta use up every single product.
Yeah.
And for bigger purchases like a gym subscription, I'll try to work out if this is something I can invest in the long term and is sustainable for me. Sustainable in the sense that I can fit it into my routine and maintain that into my routine. So if it checks all those boxes, then yes, I'll actually make that big purchase.
Probably one good thing about this is that us consumers are becoming a lot more aware of our contributions to the self-care industry. Like we talked about this in our earlier episode about de-influencing, where influencers themselves are thinking about being more honest in terms of what they're reviewing and what they're endorsing. So same thing with us, we are also like de-influencing ourselves in a way, like becoming more discerning of what we are buying. It's really great there's an increased accessibility of information in the market these days, so we don't have to solely rely on influencers or advertising. We can read up other people's reviews, we can do a lot more research into the ingredients in the products to see if they work for us. While the treat yourself culture is still thriving, I think us consumers are less likely to spend an obscene amount of money.
We're going to be spending an obscene amount of money in it.
Maybe now self-care to us means like taking a walk after work or eating a bar of chocolate. Obviously, I'm not saying that it isn't a privilege, because it is a privilege to be able to take walks or buy chocolate bars. And I'm not saying it's a bad thing to watch inspirational videos for the vibes or to treat yourself once in a while. The point is that we need to be intentional with what we buy and very mindful of the kind of content that we're consuming.
I'll also be treating myself to skincare and like the occasional facials, but like time and place. It's okay to flaunt that lifestyle, but like do read the room sometimes.
Yeah, and I'm gonna be buying all the nail polish that I want because I can afford it, but we still gotta be intentional with the products we purchase and recognize our own privilege.
And that's all for today's episode.
Follow us on Spotify or subscribe to our YouTube channel Truffle Thoughts, where we post new episodes every month, maybe.
We're also on Instagram and TikTok at Truffle Thoughts.
So thanks so much for watching, and we'll see you next time.
Come for the truffles, stay for the thoughts.
Bye.
Happy New Year!
Like fireworks. Like the effect of the fireworks. Like